The next thing I want to show you is Stitch Creator. So the first thing I want to do in this process is select the stitch that I'm going to work with. So I'm going to go back to my stitch menu here, and I'm going to go to stitch menu 5.1, and I'm going to minimize this stitch edit here for a minute. I'm going to select stitch number 33 down here. Okay, I've loaded that stitch, and I'm going to open Stitch Editor again. This is a 9mm stitch, and so to work with it, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so I have some room to work. So I'm going to use the stitch width and reduce this to 6.0. Okay. And then I need to save this. So I'm going to touch the heart down here at the bottom of the screen below the touch screen. I'm going to touch the heart. That's going to allow me to save it either in my Sonnet storage or on a USB drive. I'm going to save it to my Sonnet, and I'm just going to leave it as new stitch for right now. So I'm going to touch OK. And I did this once before, so it's asking me if I want to replace that file, and I do. I'm fine with that. Okay, now that we've saved our stitch to my Sonnet, I'm going to select Stitch Creator, which is here at the bottom of the screen. And you can always tell what mode you're in by checking the top of the screen here, and this is empty. So what that means is I need to bring my stitch that I created into Stitch Creator. So I'm going to go up here to the main menu, and I'm going to navigate to the File Manager, and I'm going to swipe up. You can think of it as scrolling down. My brain still thinks of it that way. And I'm going to select New Stitch and touch and hold that, and it brings that stitch in to the screen. Okay, the next thing I need to do is I'm going to deselect multi-stitch selector, and I'm going to navigate to stitch number 35, and I'm going back and forth. I'm actually using the stylus for this because my fingers are so dry they're not working very well on the screen, which might be a good tip for you if you're having trouble getting the screen to work. You might need to put some lotion on, or you can use a soft tip stylus to navigate on the screen. You don't want to use a pointy one that will damage your screen. Anyway, I'm on stitch number 35 now, so I'm going to go back and select multi-select, and I'm going to use the arrows again to navigate to stitch number 21. I just happen to know that's because I've looked at it before, that's the stitch that will, that's at that point we will get rid of all of the flower stitches. Okay, so we've selected stitch 35 through stitch 21, and I'm going to come down here to the edit mode and touch the trash can, which is right here. So that's deleted the flower portion of those stitches. Now I'm going to go and select all. So that's actually the bottom screen there. The bottom icon there will select all of our stitches. And the next thing we want to do is move this over so it's centered. And if you look right down here in the edit tools, the y-axis is showing as 0, and I don't want to select that. The x-axis is showing that it's off it's not in the center. So we're going to move it over so that our stitch line here is in the center. So I'm going to just use the arrow and the wheel to move it over, and I can touch and hold. And I'll move it a little bit faster. And then I slow down when I get close, and there I've got it right on the center. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to deselect multi-select, because all I want to select this time is just the 2 leaves. And what we're going to do is triple stitch those. So I need to go to, I'm going to arrow to stitch 20. And I can touch and hold up here too. And that will help me get to stitch 20. There I am. And I'm going to touch multi-select again, which is this top icon. and I'm going to arrow up to stitch 4. So it's most of the stitches in this design we're going to select. I'm going to get all the way up to stitch 4, and there we go. Now I'm going to touch the triple stitch function, which is down here in the lower right corner. And what that does is it makes it so that when this stitches out, it will stitch each stitch 3 times. So it'll be more defined. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to copy these leaves. So I'm going to touch this icon down here that looks like a piece of paper to copy it. And then I want to mirror image the ones that I just copied. So I'm going to touch that mirror image side to side, and there we go. There's my new stitch. So to load the stitch, I'm just going to touch OK down here, and it's loaded our new stitch up into the system, or into sewing mode. And you can see again up here at the top of the screen, we're in sewing mode. So I'm going to put my fabric down under the needle and show you what this is going to look like when we stitch it out. So you may notice that if I touch the scissors while my design is stitching, or my stitches are stitching, it will complete the stitch for me, tie it off and cut it. So that's a really nice feature too. So there's that beautiful new stitch that we made. I love that variegated thread and how that looks. So if I want to save this stitch now, what I can do is, remember, we're going to come down here to the heart and touch that. Maybe, there we go. And I'm going to delete the words new stitch here. And this time I'll do something, I'll call it a triple. Yeah, I need my stylus again. Triple leaf stitch. And then I can touch OK. And it saved that for me for the next time.